What does the city skyline have to do with my 10 favorite plants of April? Nothing, but it's absolutely gorgeous, so I thought I'd show it to you anyway. I'm blown away by how beautiful it is outside. It's actually warm, like it feels like a proper almost summer day. It's been raining, it's been grey, but today is stunning. And so I thought today we could do another 10 of my favorite plants videos, because now it's spring and everything's growing, things are changing, so my favorites have naturally also shifted. I'll show you which 10 plants I'm obsessed with right now. If you're new here, my name is Efe, and I'm growing over 100 plants in my New York City apartment. And when I say obsessed, I mean every time I walk by them, I get a little extra lift in my step, a little twinkle in my eye. They bring me that extra bit of joy at this moment. Most of these I've been growing since they were really tiny, so as they're starting to get really big and thrive, it's especially thrilling. I feel a real sense of pride. Okay, plant number 1 lives in the corner of my living room, and I'm gonna have to pull it out, which I'm dreading because it's sort of behind a few things, but it's worth it. It's worth it. Here's plant number 1, my Hoya Obata. This Hoya was a lot smaller when I got it, like pretty small. Not tiny, but like, you know, not this. And it just seems to have exploded out of nowhere. I decided to experiment with giving it this really tall trellis because the leaves are actually super heavy. They were trailing initially, but then they started breaking off due to their own weight. Couldn't think of how else to prop them up, so I put them on this tall trellis, and I really like the way it looks. It actually sits in the corner of my living room, right next to a couple of other succulents, and it seems really happy there. It's difficult to move out and about, so say enjoy the sight of it because I doubt I'm going to be pulling it out anytime soon. It's kind of a pain. I do need to restake some bits of it. It's wild. It's all over the place. But look at this. It's gorgeous, gorgeous. New leaves constantly. No blooms at the moment, but who cares when you have leaves like this, right? So yeah, here's my Hoya Obata. And now for number 2. Plant number 2 of the plants I'm completely obsessed with in April. I won't even bother trying to lift this one or move it. It is my burrow's tail. This is perhaps my favorite succulent in the house by far. Obviously, every time I touch it, the leaves drop off, but that's what burrow's tails do, so we won't sweat it. And it just, you know, I pick them up off the floor, drop them back in here, and it grows new tendrils all the time. There's just something about the combination of this plant with this gold pot that it's in. I'm not sure how well you can see the pot, but with this gold pot that it's in, it reminds me of like, I think it kind of reminds me of my hair. Maybe that's why I like it so much. I don't know, but it gives me so much joy every time I walk by. Obsession triggered. This is actually a super easy care plant. I think as long as it gets a really good amount of light, it's fine. So I just leave it there and I water it reasonably a fair amount. Usually when these seem soft to the touch, but because this window gets crazy amounts of sun, that's actually quite often, so I can actually just water this one on a regular schedule and it's totally fine. So that's number 2. Plant number 3 is this unbelievably cute Alocasia Poly variegated. Now, I just got this a few weeks ago, and it is, I think it's doing well. I mean, today I've noticed a tiny root out of the bottom, so I thought, okay, success. It seems happy. I can tell by the perkiness of the leaves that it's rooting just fine in here, and it seems quite happy in my care. So fingers crossed that this one will be okay. I don't have the regular poly. I only have this one, so I don't have anything to go on, but I really want this plant to do well in my care. It's a little bit of obsession at this point. Anyway, this is plant number 3, and probably the smallest plant on this list. Alocasia Poly variegated. 4, and I doubt I'll ever do a list of my favorite 10 plants without showing this one because I love it. I love it. I love it. My Anthurium waterberry. I mean, at the moment it's holding 3 leaves, but look what incredible leaves they are. I mean, it's a thing of beauty. It's ridiculously good. I just really, really, really like it. I mean, I can't get over it, you know? Nature is amazing. I mean, look at these leaves. Ah, it's gorgeous. Anyway, this is not an easy anthurium to care for, so that's probably why I'm so extra proud of it. Every time it has a new leaf and it unfurls successfully without drying out or without going crazy, I think to myself, I did that. I did that. I love this plant. It's, even though it's not the easiest, it's completely rewarding. Like the velvet, I have a lot of velvet plants in this house, but the velvet on this leaf is on a whole different level. It's really, really spectacular. Stunning. Number 5 is this philodendron palorense. I I think it's just the Jurassic leaves that do it for me when it comes to this one. Like, I'm not sure why I'm so enamored, but the leaves are, they're something else. Like, I just think they're super special, you know? Absolutely beautiful. Incredible. If you're enjoying my selection so far, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to see more of my content. For plant number 6, this is my Anthurium Regal X Luxuriance. This plant is probably always going to make my favorite list as well. Every day I check to see if it's doing something, and whenever it is, whew, the excitement is real. It makes you wait for a leaf, but when it comes out, it's so worth it. Please ignore these hauls. It was my son and his Legos versus this plant, and unfortunately the Legos won, but you know, next time I'll be on top of it and keep it safe from harm. But look at it. It's just this is probably my favorite Luxuriance hybrid, and I have quite a few of them. My favorite so far anyway. Maybe that will change down the line, but right now I just think the leaves are unmatched. Look at the size and the shape of this bad boy. It's crazy. The only thing with this is it's quite demanding of water. Like, you really have to water it a good amount. It's thirsty. Thirst bucket. Which makes sense when you think about how ginormous these leaves are, but doesn't deter me. I mean, I think it's a stunner. For number 7, I've got a pendant Anthurium that I actually don't see very often. I don't know why, because it's so easy. It's super easy care. The leaves are skinny, beautiful. It's just, you know, I think it deserves more love than it gets in these internet streets. This is Anthurium Stalia. I'm super into this Stalia. I think it's really, really underrated. I mean, it can take a drying out like nothing I've ever seen before. This plant, sometimes I water it like it's a cactus. It's tough as nails. If you can get hold of one, I highly recommend it. I think it's better than Vitarifolium. I think it's better than, okay, it's not better than Pallidiflorum because that's velvet. It's different. It's different from Pallidiflorum. But this is really, really easy. Very, very good choice if you tend to forget to water and you don't want to have to worry about that. It's very, very forgiving. I highly recommend it. Actually needs a repot. Look, it's trying to tip out of its container right now, but Anthurium Stalia. Plant number 8 is a plant that I have been growing since it was in a 3-inch pot. I bought it from Gabriella Plants in 2020. It was teeny weeny in a tiny 3-inch pot, and it's been with me ever since. I ended up putting it on a moss pole, and just, you know, it's one of those plants that just sits in the corner of my apartment and gets forgotten and ignored all the time for like flashier other things, but I'm telling you, it's a classic for a reason. This is my philodendron micans. I'm not sure how much you can see of her, but I first put her on a moss pole and then I extended it. So yeah, it's on a double pole basically, which I reinforced with a metal rod just to keep it, you know, rock solid. And here it is. It needs a little bit of maintenance. As you can see, I really neglect this plant. One thing about mycans is that once it's established, it can really take a drying out. Like when this was a baby plant, I had to really stay on top of the watering. But now that it's established and, you know, completely grown, old boy, it can take a drying out. When I do remember and I get around to watering it, it's fine. It doesn't, I haven't experienced dry rot or anything like that. And it's crazy. This plant is really the definition of easygoing. As you can see, I would definitely recommend this plant if you want something that you want to grow into a statement plant, but you're having difficulty getting hold of some of the other velvet philodendron plants like verrucosum or those hybrids like glorious or whatever. You can make a statement plant just from a mycans, you know, and put it on a moss pole, keep it moist, and look what happens. It's incredible. Number 9 is my Anthurium veitchii, also known as the King Anthurium. This is another plant that I bought actually in the 2 or 3 inch pot from Gabriella Plants. It had 1 leaf, I think, maybe 2 leaves at the time. Pitiful, but look at it now. Look at it now. It's large and in charge. This is the latest leaf. It's still a bit soft. This is probably one of the easiest care anthuriums out there. When I first got this, I heard that these could dry out, so I made the mistake of letting it dry out too much. And it didn't, it crisped, some of the bottom crisped like this. But honestly, it didn't suffer as much as anything that was velvet would have. It did fine, it just didn't grow that much. Once I moved it to a very high light situation, I mean, this is right by the south window in my bedroom, so it gets, good light. It likes a lot of light. And I started watering it more frequently. It just started thriving. It's growing like crazy. If you look closely, it seems to be putting out its first ever inflorescence, which my dream is to cross this with Anthurium forgetii, because I think it will look incredible, and because I'm just obsessed with forgetii hybrids. But anyway, this is the veitchii, my King Anthurium. Get you one if you don't have one. I recommend it. They're not as slow as people think they are. They just need a lot of light. We've come to the end of the show. Number 10 of my 10 plants that I'm loving right now in April is Anthurium warocquianum, also known as the Queen Anthurium. I gave you a king, and I would be remiss not to follow up with the queen. This is probably one of the plants I'm most proud of growing, because I got it again as a tiny baby 2-leaf. I imported it actually, and it's grown into this beast. It's quite a strong plant. I just repotted it and gave it a moss pole a couple of weeks ago, and it's already putting out crazy roots into the pole. So obviously was desperate for something to climb, but now that it has it, it's doing really well. It does have some damage from drying out too much. This is because I waited too long to repot it. And the queen, this is not a plant that you can dry out under any circumstances. Honestly, more water is better than less when it comes to this one, so I won't make that mistake again. But here she is, a true beauty. And that's it. These are the 10 plants that I'm loving. Till next time, I'll see you